Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this video, we of group 3 will explain the material about the theory of economic growth from J.S. Mill. Before we explain about our material, we will introduce our member. Yang pertama yaitu saya, Afika Putri. Yang kedua yaitu Arifani Septiningsi. Dan yang ketiga yaitu Muhammad Sabit. Untuk materi pertama akan dijelaskan oleh Arifani Septiningsi. Kepada Arifani Septiningsi dipersilakan.
John Stuart Mill. John Stuart Mill is one of the famous utilitarian figure who gave rise to the concept of freedom, which is described extensively in his book on liberty. His book, Principle of Political Economy, attempts to understand the economic problem as a social problem. The problem is how people live and participate in the prosperity of their nation, both in the production process, the protection of domestic products, and the competition between products, as well as in the problems of distribution through monetary and credit instruments.
Oke, thanks Fanny. Terima kasih telah menjelaskan. Next, materi selanjutnya akan dijelaskan oleh Muhammad Sabit. Kepada Muhammad Sabit dipersilakan.
Okay, the next slide is about regarding his economic thinking. Mill was influenced by Thomas Robert Malthus, where economic growth is always accompanied by population pressure with fixed source. Ethical universalism is a utilitarian concept that prioritizes the happiness of others, and it's here that Mill's utilitarian morality is true. The principle is in fact quite relevant in relation to economic activity. In addition to the assumption that Mill accepts the free Adam Smith's market, but seeking the happiness of others in the spirit of market competition is Mill's agenda. Free market conditions, which tend to be self-centered, attempt to repress Mill by applying common moral values, where the principle of happiness must be felt by every market participant, business sector, producer, distributor, down to the consumer level. While the free market tends to lead to unsuccessful condition, the two parties are expected to be able to maintain a relationship that will eventually lead to mutual happiness, a consequence of John Stuart Mill's ethical universalism. The next slide is about utilitarianism theory. John Stuart Mill was an English philosopher and economist. He wrote one of his famous essays, Utilitarianism, in 1891. Utilitarianism is a moral and legal theory with origin in classical philosophy that was famously propagated in the 18th and 19th centuries by Jeremy Bentham. Its general argument is that morality consists in bringing about the best state of affairs, and that the best state of affairs is the state with the greatest amount of happiness for the greatest number of people. Utilitarianism continues to be an important theory in modern philosophy. A knowledge of Mill's own personal biography is integral to understanding the context for his essay. Mill was raised by his father, James Mill. To be a strict utilitarian, Jeremy Bentham also aided in Mill's upbringing, and Mill was deeply influenced by Bentham writings. Mill's childhood was rugged and intellectual, and when at 21 he began to question some of his beliefs, he suffered a nervous breakdown. Mill later struggled with his sense that utilitarianism was too unemotional and that it failed to capture or understand the higher pleasures. Thus, Mill's writings should be understood as the product of a struggle to reconcile utilitarianism with complexities with that Bentham's theory failed to acknowledge. However, Mill never rejected utilitarianism as a moral theory, and he continued to use Bentham's framework of pleasure fulfillment throughout his own writings. Mill wrote utilitarianism later in life, and it upholds a more complex version of utilitarianism, yet one that still embraces the most basic premise of Bentham and Mill's father. Thank you.
Oke, terima kasih kepada Sabit. Materi selanjutnya akan saya lanjutkan mengenai utilitarianism theory. Mill argues that utilitarianism coincides with natural sentiment that originate from human social nature. Therefore, if society were to embrace utilitarianism and an ethic, people would naturally internalize their standard as amorally binding. We argues that happiness is the sole basis of morality, and that people never desire anything but happiness. He supports this claim by showing that all the other objects of people desire are either means to happiness or include in the definition of happiness. We expand and like that the sentiment of justice is actuality-based utility, and that right exists only because they are necessary for human happiness. Teori utilitarisme telah dikritik karena berbagai alasan. Para kritikus berpendapat bahwa hal ini tidak memberikan perlindungan yang memadai untuk hak-hak individu, bahwa tidak semuanya dapat diukur dengan standar yang sama, dan bahwa kebahagiaan lebih kompleks daripada yang direfleksikan oleh teori. J.S. Mill mewakili usahanya untuk menanggapi kritik ini, dan dengan demikian memberikan teori moral yang lebih kompleks dan bernuansa. Namun teori J.S. Mill ini berpendapat complete first chapter. His first chapter serves as an introduction to the essay. In his second chapter, J.S. Mill berdiskusi tentang definisi of utilitarianism ini and presence of misconception about the theory. The third chapter in a discussion about the ultimate sanction for or reward that utilitarianism can offer. The fourth chapter discusses method of proving the validity of utilitarianism. In his fifth chapter, will talk about the connect between justice and utility and argues that happiness is the foundation of justice. Baiklah, demikian materi yang dapat kami sampaikan. Semoga materi ini bisa kita pahami bersama. Saya sudahi dengan membaca wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.